Welcome everyone to today's webinar, Preparing Technicians for Careers in Advanced Mobility. This session is being recorded. We have three presenters today, Bob Feldmeyer, Director of the CAAT Center at Macomb Community College, and Sherry Doherty, the Assistant Director. Also joining us is Doug Fairtuck. He's the Assistant Director for Energy and Automotive Programs at Macomb Community College. Doug, it's a pleasure to have you and your colleagues with us today. Why don't you say hello to everyone and tell us a little bit about your co-presenters.
Hello everybody. Thank you, Mike, and welcome to all of our participants. I've been with the CAAT Center for 3.5 years, Sherry about a year, and Bob about 1.5 years now. And as we go through the presentation, we'll give you, one of the things we'll do is give you a little bit of background on our center. But I'm going to do the first section, and then I'll be followed by Sherry Doherty, and then Bob Feldmeyer will wrap it up. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. What we're going to cover today, first of all, are who are we? The Center for Advanced Automotive Technology. Then we're going to talk about automotive technologies and the way the automobiles of the future are going to be smarter and greener. And then the third basic thing we're going to talk about is what's our response to that in terms of developing or getting smarter students through curriculum development, professional development of teachers and administrators, and providing technical and educational resources for all of the above. The Center for Advanced Automotive Technology is located at Macomb Community College at our South Campus, and it's a partnership with Wayne State University of Detroit. We became an Advanced Technological Education Center of the National Science Foundation in 2010 with a $2.8 million grant. And our mission is to advance the preparation of skilled technicians for the automotive industry's more environmental friendly and safer vehicles. I would distinguish here that we're not manufacturing oriented, that we're more product development and service oriented. There are other ATE centers that focus on manufacturing. And that also we're going to be a regional resource for developing and disseminating advanced automotive technology education. This is I just wanted to briefly show, for those of you who are not familiar with ATE centers, the U.S. map showing where all of the 42 ATE centers are located. You can see they're dispersed across the country. And the next slide, which you can study at your leisure at the website here noted, are all of the different centers and what they focus on. And you can see that they range all the way from agricultural technologies and biotechnology, security technologies, to automotive technologies like what the CAAT represents. So why was CAAT located at Macomb Community College? Well, we here have a long history of preparing many students to work in the auto industry, since we're very close to much of what's going on in the U.S. auto industry here in Michigan, in the Midwest. We've been leaders in advanced automotive curriculum development for technicians, and as I say, we're located here. Over 215 automotive R&D companies are in Michigan, and most are clustered in southeast Michigan, where we're located. We're just outside of Detroit, in the northeast suburbs. Over 60% of the top 150 automotive suppliers to North America are also headquartered in Michigan. In addition to our relationship with the auto industry here, we've also, in the previous to the CAAT grant, executed a number of other related energy and automotive grants. This is a map that shows the spread and concentration of the auto industry across most of North America here. And you can still see that even though there's been spread, particularly to the south for manufacturing, and now even into California, but the predominant number is still in the Midwest, with the center of gravity pretty much here in southeastern Michigan. Also distinguished on this map are manufacturing facilities versus R&D, design, and engineering or product development facilities. And as I mentioned, our focus at CAAT is on the R&D, design, and engineering aspects of the industry. So the auto industry has been going through some rough times in recent years, and pretty much anybody with their eyes open is aware of that. And this shows the total employment over the last 15 years or so. And you can see there was quite a drop going down to about 2009. And since then, and this shows the total North American employment, and then broken out in 3 of the states that are the biggest 3 states for automotive employment: Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio. There's been a resurgence in automotive jobs over the last 4 years, and there's an expectation that that's going to continue into the future. So the automotive industry has, in fact, rebounded. Now, not only that, but the nature of the jobs in the automotive industry is changing. The jobs profile. Nearly half, for example, in Michigan, of auto jobs are now not in the factory. They're in the product development sphere. Detroit is still the intellectual capital of the auto industry, and in fact, Michigan itself ranks as #1 in concentration of engineers nationally. There's 65,000 engineers, and of course, wherever there's engineers, there's technicians. The number of technical jobs expected to grow is expected to grow as the industry technology becomes even more advanced. And many foreign automakers and suppliers have set up technical centers in Michigan, for example, Toyota, Hyundai, Bosch, and many others. So this is where the intellectual action is for the high-tech auto industry. Now, our strategic priorities then, given this background at CAAT, are we want to our role is to prepare automotive technicians and designers in community colleges for advanced technology jobs in this industry. And then we want to increase the flow of students through the pipeline into those jobs. All ATE centers, of which we are one, have the goal of collaborating and sharing across educational institutions. Our whole reason for being is to develop curriculum that can then be accessed by multiple institutions. And then the 4th element here is a key part of our role is to partner with industry so that we can understand their needs, so that the curriculum that we're developing and disseminating meets their needs in the flow of students that are coming through our pipeline. Now, there's a series of charts here I'm going to go through that were put together by the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, and we think that they're particularly good in describing the change that's coming in the auto industry in the future, the drivers for change. And the first cluster of drivers that are really changing in the industry are the demographics in the vehicle market. There's a rising urbanization, there's vehicle segment shifting. I mean, just look at the vehicles on the road today versus what they were 10 or 15 years ago, and you can all recognize the difference. There's more and more global platforms. It's more and more of an international business. That's one cluster. Another cluster of drivers is the vehicle designs themselves. They're smaller, they're lighter weight, they're connected in terms of communications, they're personalized, they're environmentally friendly, and that would add here another bullet that is much more safety consciousness and safety performance in current vehicle designs, and that will continue in the future. Connected and automated vehicles. We've all heard about self-driving vehicles, but there's a whole range of ways in which the vehicles of the future will be connected and automated. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a couple of slides. Powertrain and propulsion technologies. The continuing drive for CO2 reduction has been of primary importance in the industry, and that's actually been the focus of our center, the CAAT Center here over the first 3.5 years. It's been primarily in vehicle electrification and reducing CO2. And then, of course, harmonization of standards across all global regions. This is a global driver. Material technologies. I've already cited under vehicle design the lightweight, but it's become even more and more important And this is something we'll have a couple of slides also addressing later in the presentation. But there's a whole host of technologies associated with the advent of more and more usage of lightweight materials in automobiles. And finally, manufacturing and supply chain. There's a lot of technology changes going on in manufacturing as well, with logistics and modular manufacturing and so forth. This area is, as I mentioned earlier, not a particular area of focus for our center, but we wanted to cite it as another example of the major changes that are happening in the industry. So the four that I've circled here are the ones that are within the scope of the center. And as I mentioned, we've been focusing on powertrain and propulsion technologies up until now, but we're expanding our scope within the center to material technologies and connected and automated vehicles and vehicle designs, particularly lightweight, in the future. Okay, at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Mike.
Thanks very much, Doug. You know, attendees, I just want to remind you that you can put any questions you have in that chat window. And Doug, we actually have one. I appreciate you having a couple of question breaks today. One question came in. You talked about the industry map. It was very interesting across the states. But what about technicians or students entering the workforce? Do they need a full associate's degree, or are there opportunities for them at some different level of credential? Do you have a question for that, or will you talk about that later?
No, that's something that we haven't addressed specifically later, and I'll answer that. I would say that more and more we're finding, particularly with what we call the OEMs, or the original equipment manufacturers, the GMs and the Chryslers and the Fords and the Toyotas, that they really do expect degrees to be employed by them. Now, some of the suppliers, and as you get, and you know, there's first and second tier suppliers. As you get further and further from the OEMs, there might be opportunities for those that don't have all of their credentials in order. But for the long term, you're going to pretty much have to have at least an AS degree to be able to contribute in these technologies.
You know, I think that might have represents a change, doesn't it, from years ago, where you came out of high school into the auto industry. I guess that's not quite true anymore, is it? It's a different industry.
No, that's definitely not true. Especially as you know, as I mentioned, our focus is on product development. It's always been true that you needed to have a higher level of skills, perhaps, than in a manufacturing environment. But even in manufacturing, you know, the days of the high school graduate picking up a wrench on the line and expecting to have a lifetime employment, that's just not going to happen.
Starting at $22 an hour, by the way, that doesn't going to happen anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. But as Doug mentioned, the operator on the line has a much different job. There's a lot more computer interaction with the you know, the actual production operator goes through. So you're looking at a different and higher skill set even for that type of job. Not really an associate degree, but some sort of additional training beyond high school.
Interesting. Thank you, Bob, for that comment. Doug, let's go ahead. We're perfectly on time. Why don't you take us into the next session, and we will have another question break coming up. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, that's sort of the background of what CAAT is and some of the fundamental drivers that are going on in the auto industry. I want to talk a little bit now about the technologies. I mentioned that you know, energy has been the primary, and fuel efficiency has been the primary focus on for the Center for Advanced Automotive Technology, and this is one of my favorite charts. People kind of groan when they see it sometimes, but it's really not as complicated as it looks. It's a chart that the Lawrence Livermore Laboratory and National Laboratory out in California has been putting out for a number of years, and it shows overall energy use in the United States, all the way from, on the left-hand side here, the source of the energy, to its use through electricity generation, and then ultimate use, either residential, commercial, industrial, or transportation. And the point I wanted to make here was that transportation is the biggest user of energy nationally, and of that transportation usage, 80% of it is in vehicles, with just 60% of it's in cars and light trucks. So when you're talking about the energy situation in the United States, the automotive industry is a huge and important consumer of energy, especially when you consider that most of the energy that is used in transportation is petroleum. And we're all well aware of all of the political and economic issues that there are with petroleum. So I'd like to use this chart to set the stage for how important the auto industry is to the energy strategy and development of the country. Now, the manifestation of that is fundamentally in fuel economy standards. There's been a major change in the fuel economy standards, which have been basically plateaued for a number of years, but now they're back on the upward curve again, and this shows what the fuel economy standards are for cars going from going all the way up to over 60 miles per gallon by 2025, and also light trucks have their own major increases coming in fuel economy standards up to 2025. Imagine the average light truck out there getting 44 miles per gallon by then. So how are we going to meet those kind of fuel economy standards? And I don't expect to run through this chart in detail. You'll have this available to you to look at in detail later. But this is a Pareto chart of all the different technologies that are being developed and investigated that are going to have to be applied to the cars and trucks of the future in order to meet those fuel economy standards. So the point here is, there's a couple of points here, is there's some significant improvements that are going to be available primarily through hybridization and diesels and so forth, but there's a whole host of other technology improvements that in aggregate will make a big difference in the fuel economy of future vehicles. So it's the sorting out and it's the development and it's the application of these technologies in the future that's going to be a major focus for the technicians of the future. So now, which ones of those technologies are going to be applied in the future, and to what degree? And the answer is it's uncertain at this point. And the reason it's uncertain is because of these points here. That we don't know, the technologies themselves are being developed and changing all the time. What are their costs going to be? What are customers going to expect in demand in terms of their preferences in the impact of these technologies on their usage of the vehicles? Energy prices themselves, emissions from electricity generation could be a driver of which technologies will be more suitable than others. And then there's infrastructure required for some of these alternate fuels and for recharging of electric vehicles and so forth. So there's a lot of moving pieces here as we try to, as the industry strives to meet these fuel economy standards. So the answers aren't all completely known, but there's a lot of levers to use to meet those standards, and it's going to take a lot of vehicle development, a lot of technology development, and a lot of really smart technicians to bring those technologies to the vehicles of the future. One of the things that, as I mentioned, we've been focusing on vehicle electrification so far, primarily at the CAAT. And one of the questions we always get is, well, do hybrid electric vehicles even make sense? And this is another way of, it's a sort of a T chart, a forced driver chart. There's a bunch of reasons why they don't make sense. And then there's a bunch of reasons why, well, yes, they do make sense. Now, the primary issue has been increasing vehicle cost and prices to electrify them. But there's a whole host of reasons why you might want to do that, to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, offer reductions from oil dependency, they do operate more efficiently and cost effectively, and so forth. So I'm not going to run through all of these, but as you can see, the strength of these different factors are also changing through time. So the issue is, the point of the matter is, there's going to be a fairly significant number of electrified vehicles coming, even much more so than what we currently have out on the road in the future. And we're going to be continuing to focus on vehicle electrification at the CAAT. I mentioned the other two drivers that we're going to be adding to our focus at CAAT in the next 3 years are going to be material technologies and connected and automated vehicles. And I just wanted to just talk about these briefly for a couple of slides. This is a very interesting picture of what's been happening on average to the average material content of North American light vehicles. The use of regular mild steel has been pretty steadily going down, and even that decrease is going to be accelerating in the future. Aluminum has been pretty much growing every year, and you're seeing more and more use of high-strength steels and plastics and composites as well. For a great example of what the vehicles may look like in the future, the new 2014 Corvette Stingray has a lot of these advanced materials technologies in it in a production vehicle. Aluminum frame, a carbon fiber hood, carbon nanocomposite underbody panels, magnesium seat frames, SMC fenders, magnesium structural chassis components, and the joining of all of these different materials through techniques such as laser welding, with fasteners, adhesives, spot welding. This is a very sophisticated vehicle that's been put together here that's much more complicated than the traditional mild steel welded vehicle structure. Finally, the last area that I wanted to cover here was the connected and automated vehicles. A connected and automated vehicle uses any number of different communications technologies to communicate with the driver, to communicate with other vehicles, to communicate with the roadside infrastructure, and even the cloud. And some of the benefits and challenges of these connected and automated vehicles are here. It's much more than just crash elimination, which has really been sort of the primary safety-driven aspect of connected and automated vehicles that we're all more likely to be aware of. But with the connected and automated technology, we can reduce the need for new infrastructure. Travel time can be reduced. Productivity improvements will be resulting from that time travel improvement. Improved energy efficiency. If you can flow traffic much more efficiently and have people avoiding trouble spots, there's going to be a significant improved energy efficiency as well nationally. There's going to be a lot of data challenges with all of this these communications flowing across vehicles to the infrastructure and up into the cloud. But that's going to be another area where there's going to be a need for skilled technicians in the future to work on these technologies. There's going to be new models for vehicle ownership. Shared vehicles and all of the variant models that come with that can be very much more enabled by having the connected technologies in place. Other new business models and scenarios, I mean, all you have to do is pick up an automotive magazine and you'll see all kinds of wild ideas on how people can make money from having this information available to them from these vehicles and provide services that people would actually want. So what can CAAT do for you regarding these technologies and regarding preparing students to enter into the industry able to work on these technologies? Well, we develop curriculum, and through a process, one of the processes that we have to do that is what we call seed funding, and I'll briefly explain that. Curriculum dissemination, professional development, and technical and professional resources, that's what Sherry is going to be addressing, and Bob will talk about some of the outcomes that we've been able to achieve with these resources. CAAT seed funding. We're the first center, I think, that's really integrated the idea of providing funding to other schools to develop curriculum in areas where we have identified that there is a need based on our interfaces with industry. So this funding is available on a first-come, first-served basis to develop or adapt materials for modules and for artifacts, to courses, and complete, of course, curriculum. We do not emphasize equipment. We are willing to provide equipment only to make sure that the course material can be developed. And then we and our partners will identify priority development needs. Now this is a chart that we have kind of used as our mental model for where do we think we need curriculum development. If you look across the top here, we're talking about automotive systems and subsystems through their life cycle, through the original pre-production, research, design, development, testing, and so forth, into production, tooling, manufacturing, and so forth, which is where we do not get involved with vehicle systems. And then post-production as well, service, reuse, recycling. And if you look down the left-hand side, we look at total vehicle systems, energy storage, motors, controllers, and components, advanced engine systems, alternate fuel propulsion systems such as fuel cells, and then we've added these lightweighting materials and connected and automated vehicles. And we just have basically, given our discussions with industry and with others and other educational institutions, identified areas that will be primed for perhaps having curriculum developed in those areas. What we on our website, we have a template posted for those interested in submitting a funding request. If you fill out that template and send it to us, we try to keep it simple and straightforward. We review and approve the proposal if appropriate, and we issue a contract. It's not a subaward; it's a contract with key milestones for deliverables, payments, and reports. This is a listing of the projects that we currently have completed and in the hopper. And I'm not going to go through these. You can kind of look at them yourself. I will just, for example, call out the one here from Grand Valley State University, where they developed a module for lithium-ion battery reclamation technology, which we thought was very interesting. This is in the would be in the far right column of the previous chart under post-production reclamation and reuse. They've completed this project last year, and the module that they developed is being used today at Grand Valley State University and also Muskegon Community College, and they developed it in conjunction with an industry partner in that area in western Michigan that's going to be going into the business of reclaiming lithium-ion batteries. So that's an example of the kind of thing that we've been using the seed funding process to develop. So if you lay those projects against that matrix, you can see that we're hitting some of them, but there's some other ones here, particularly in these new areas, where we think that there's perhaps potential for curriculum development from other sources. And with that, Mike, you want to take over on the questions?
Yes, thanks, Doug. There's several interesting ones. Seem to be a lot of interest in these hybrid electrics today. One of the questions says, we've got an automotive technology existing at our college. How should we, or how can we, justify adding courses? How do we know what the demand is? The faculty think it's cool, but is there any way that they can better quantify the demand as they make these program changes? That's a harder question.
It is. A lot of that depends upon where you are geographically located. There's a lot more electric vehicles in the East Coast and West Coast than there is in the middle of the country. If your automotive technology program is aimed towards service, and it probably is, that's what most of them are, except we're kind of a rare exception, being more auto manufacturer and supplier oriented because of our geographic location, Southeast Michigan. Yeah. But you really need to look at how many electric and hybrid vehicles do you have in the area. One way you might try to quantify that is contacting some of the dealerships and getting a feel for, what percent of the vehicles that you're selling and then servicing are electrified, and do you have a need for people with that specialization? In a lot of cases, what's happening right now is that a dealership is selling a very small percentage, but they do still have to service them, but the number of vehicles coming in doesn't justify someone that is a real specialist in this area. So the person has to be able to have capability of servicing other aspects of the vehicle, and when an electrified vehicle comes in, they're kind of the ones that end up being the one working on that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, our experience has been, as Bob indicated, that you really need to respond to what the local needs are, whether they be through dealerships for service or whether they be through automotive suppliers for the the product development type of technicians.
Well, that really makes sense, Doug. Yeah, there's a second question. A lot of enthusiasm, at least a lot of interest in that seed funding program you have. It is unique, as you mentioned. One of the attendees apparently saw the Lewis and Clark one on hybrid EV curriculum. How did they get it, and does it cost money? Or are we talking about that later?
Well, actually, Mike, I will be discussing that in the slides that I'll be talking about here shortly.
Oh, good. Sherry, you're up next. Maybe we should just hold on that question, and I'm sure you'll have a chance to talk about actually how you get these things and if there's any cost involved as well. Well, that's a great prelude. Well, good. We're looking good. I know we have another question period coming up. I want to encourage the attendees to put any thoughts or questions they have in the chat window. Sherry, let's go ahead with your section.
Well, I just want to interject one other comment here to get people thinking. Is that we're going to be asking for an evaluation of the session and feedback on the session at the end. So we're really interested in your reaction, and so feel free to kind of jot down your feelings and suggestions on how we could do better on this and other topics we could address as we go along, so that you can put those into the survey at the end. Thank you very much.
Good. That sounds good. Go ahead, Sherry.
Okay, what I'm going to do today is just do a quick browse through our website so you can see that some of the resources that we have available to you. And just to give a quick answer to the question that was asked, all of the resources on our website are free, and I'll get into a little more detail on what those are here shortly. What you're seeing here is our homepage, and it's www.autocat.org. And I'll be walking you through essentially the sections of our website, which you can see across the blue bar across the top there, right along here. So we'll just take a quick look at each of those pages so you can get a feel for what we have available to you. Just a quick note, on our homepage down in the lower left corner, you'll see that we have a news section and an events section. We kind of monitor what's going on in the industry and put out links to current news and current automotive-related events that fall under our scope of work here at the CAAT. And you'll see across the bottom there, you see we also have a conference coming up, and then we also have a spot for the webinar that we're doing today. Moving along, on the first section of our website is where you can learn a little bit more about CAAT. And on all the pages, you'll see along the left-hand side of the page, you see the other subsequent pages that fall under this section. So if you want to know more about why CAAT is at Macomb, or what we're doing, who we're partnered with, see a little bit more about those of us you're talking to today, find out about our conference, all of that is available to you on our website on the About CAAT page. The next section is for educators, and as you can see here, I have up the page on seed funding that Doug was talking about. You can apply for our seed funding online, and this is one of the key pages where you'll see all of the resources that you'll need to actually submit a project for approval for seed funding through us. And also on the educators page on the left side there, you see that we have a professional development page, a list of our educational partners, and a link to our resource library, which I'll have another slide on here soon. And then the next section on our website is our industry and employers page, and on the left-hand side you see we have a link to the Michigan Academy for Green Mobility Alliance, one of our key partners, and Bob will have a couple of slides on Magna and tell you more about that shortly here. Our student section, we have a page on career pathways that shows you the different options that start here at Macomb with our Electric Vehicle Development Technology Certificate, and then how that can tie into an associate degree here at Macomb, and then onto a bachelor's degree at Wayne State University. We also have an interesting page on our website that tells you about all the alternative fuel and hybrid electric vehicle courses that are available in Michigan. We do keep that updated quarterly, so we can look around at what the other colleges are doing and have summarized it here for you in this page. And then we also have a student activity section that lists some of the activities that we have going on for students here at the CAAT. And what's on the page now is the Electric Vehicle Technology Certificate Program. Again, Bob will be telling you more about that, and we've got a video about that on this page as well that you can check out later. Resources page, this is just where you can find out about our upcoming webinars, ones that we'll be doing after today, and then our newsletter, which I'll tell you more about shortly. You could sign up for our newsletter on this page. And this is the resource library. This gets back to the question about where the curriculum is, how you get it, and does it cost anything. And again, as you see across the top, it is all free. Again, drawing your attention to the left side, we have where you can browse the resources, which is the page I have on the screen now. You can also search for them. If you have something you think may be of interest to us, you could actually submit a resource to us that we can include in our library. And then we have conference resources, which includes materials that we have either developed and presented at conferences or that we have collected from conferences that we have attended. What's on your screen now, you can see the Browse Resources section. We do have it broke down in several different ways. You can search by engineering technology, and you can see the categories there, then how many resources we have that are related to that category. And you can also search by education level and or audience. So there's various ways that you can find the materials that we have out there. And again, all of the materials that have been developed through our seed funding projects are available on this page. And again, they are all free. You will get asked one question. You don't have to have an account to download them, but you do have to just provide us with some basic information on the type of person you are. Are you an educator, a student, a job seeker, and then how you're using those materials. And the reason we ask that is so that we can share that information with the National Science Foundation. We do have a place where you can enter your name and email address if you want to stay connected with us, but it is not required. And the last section of our website is the technologies page. And again, off to the left, you can see the different types of technologies that we're covering here. And as Doug mentioned, we'll be expanding the lightweighting and connected and automated vehicle sections. So we'll be adding content to that here as we move forward. This chart shows just how the usage of our website has gone up. We got some statistics from last year's total. We had more than 3,300 total visits, over 2,200 unique visitors, visitors from 85 countries. And you can see how we've been growing over last year. We started in second quarter with about 75 visits per month. By the fourth quarter, we were almost 700 visits per month. And I just looked at our analytics for the first quarter of 2014, and we're over 900 per month. So we're seeing some good growth there. And here we have a little more about our resource library. They are free to everybody. We have more than 80 classroom-ready educational resources, and one resource can have multiple components to it, so it's not just 80 individual pieces. For example, we could have a full course that would have anything from lesson plans and homework and presentations. A full course load of materials could be considered one resource. And again, our conference resources page, so those resources that are related to conferences that we've participated in are available. And the resources that we have available are from the seed funding projects that we have funded, and then also from Macomb and Wayne State University courses, and then other resources that we've located through other sources. And off to the right there, you'll see that all of our resources have been approved by and are available through the National Science Digital Library, the Applied Math and Science Education Resources Repository, and APE Central. Resource library download, similar chart. You see that we're on the move. We're growing in how many folks are downloading our resources per month. Started in early in 2013. We're getting about 35 downloads per month, and by the end of last year, the fourth quarter, we were over 130 per month. This slide represents the questions that I mentioned that we ask when you download a resource. So you can see here that folks that are downloading our resources are primarily students and educators, but also the general public and employer representatives, folks from nonprofit organizations and government organizations. So it's sort of all over the board. How are they using them? Largely as resource materials and to teach students, and also to teach industry professionals and to develop other educational resources. This shows you our monthly newsletter. We just started this at the beginning of this year, but we're getting good feedback on it so far. If you'd like to sign up, you can just go to our website, go to the resources section and click on newsletter, and you'll just be asked to enter your name and email address, and we'll get you added to our list. Now we'll talk about some of the activities we're involved in, some of the student activities that we've done through the CAAT. We have a university-bound program, which we do with Wayne State University. That's for students who are here at Macomb who are planning to transfer to Wayne State University. Gives them a good exposure to Wayne State. They stay in a night in the dorm over there, and they have workshops that are designed to help them in their transition to the university. Last summer and again this summer, we have offered a hybrid and electric vehicle summer academy to high school students. That's a week-long program, and the CAAT is offering that free to students this year. And last December, we participated, we actually hosted the Robotics Engineering and Technology Days event that we brought in about 1,700 6th through 12th graders. And the CAAT not only sponsored or co-sponsored that event, but we also provided a hybrid electric vehicle session, and the students got to drive some electric vehicles and racing them, and Bob had lots of fun with that. And then also we participated in some industry events here in Detroit, both Autorama and the North American International Auto Show. We had career days at each of those where we presented a hybrid and electric vehicle workshop for the students participating in those events. Some of the professional development opportunities that we have the Electric Drive Vehicle Technology short course offered by Wayne State University. I think we're close to finalizing dates on those for early June.
June 6th and 7th.
June 6th and 7th. I think that's in Livonia, Michigan.
No.
Not Livonia, sorry.
Lorain, Ohio.
Oh, Lorain, Ohio, okay. And then we also have the SMATA event, the Southeastern Michigan Automotive Teachers Association, that we host here at Macomb in fall. There's some training sessions available through that event. And then our conference, which is coming up here on May 2nd, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that right now. That event is also free. It's on Friday, May 2nd here at Macomb Community College in our South Campus here in Warren, Michigan. Our theme this year is You Can't See the Future in the Rearview Mirror. And then it's co-sponsored by the Center for Automotive Research, SAE International, and Design and Manufacturing Alliance, three organizations that we are closely partnered with. We'll be offering a hot breakfast and lunch, and we do have limited seating. Registration is open now. If you go to our website, I showed you on our home page, we have the block there on the conference. You can click that and get registered if you're interested in attending that. I don't have it noted here, but we do offer to educators some funding for travel reimbursement. You can check out our website to see if you might qualify for that. Typically, you have to be an educator in the technology field and be traveling more than 100 miles one way to the event. And again, there's some forms and details available on our website if that applies to you. Keynote speakers for our conference this year will be talking about the future of the automotive industry. We have Nigel Francis, who's the Senior Automotive Advisor to the State of Michigan and Senior Vice President, Automotive Industry Office for the MEDC. We have Kristen Dichek, Director of Labor and Industry Group at the Center for Automotive Research. Then we have John McElroy, who you're probably aware of if you've been involved in the automotive industry, does the Autoline Daily and Autoline This Week broadcasts. We also have some technical sessions available at our conference. We'll have a session on electric vehicle taxonomy, that we'll be doing here with our faculty here at Macomb Community College. We have a session by General Motors on lightweighting of the new Chevy Corvette that Doug mentioned earlier. And then we have someone from the U of M Transportation Research Institute will be presenting on the Ann Arbor Connected Vehicle Project. And to get more information on our website or on the conference, you can visit our website. Our newsletter will always have information about our activities. And again, if you want to register, please go to our website and submit your registration information. And then in conjunction with our conference, we also have an electric vehicle ride and drive on the same day following our conference. This event will be open to the public from 3 to 8 p.m. Again, here at our campus in our parking lot. And if you want to register for that, we have a separate page on our website. It's autocat.org/drive. Space is limited for this event as well, so if you're local and interested in attending, please go online and secure your spot for that event. Mike, that's it for my section. Do we have any questions?
Yes, it has to do, well, it's a sort of a multiple question here, Sherry. Someone's saying, should they add a material science component to their automotive technology program? I'm not sure, maybe we'll turn to Doug or Bob for that, but do you have resources for material science in your resource center in that area? I'll ask you first.
We don't currently, but it's an area that we'll be expanding into as we get more into lightweighting. With our National Science Foundation grant, we're in year 4 of our grant right now, and we have applied for renewal. We don't have final word back on that, but our expanded scope of activity is going to be getting more into lightweighting. Primarily where we're looking at doing this is going to be within the design curriculum area, trying to teach the people that are learning to be CAD designers how to design with alternate materials, types of materials available, how you do joining of dissimilar materials, this type of thing. So we don't have a lot in our resource library now, but we will be as we start to develop into this area.
Yeah, there was that major new grant that was also won by University of Michigan and a consortium of other schools.
Oh, right. I heard of that. Yeah.
And we're part of that.
Right.
So as that shakes out and develops more specific projects within that overall grant, we're expecting that will also be reflected in the curriculum development here.
But this, rather than for the automotive technology program, it's not really so much for the technicians doing service repair of the vehicles. It's more for the CAD designers.
I think the answer is if you've got a plain old, well, I don't mean it that way, plain old automotive technology program, probably you don't have room to put material science in there.
Typically, yeah, that would be very difficult to fit in the time allotted right now for the 60 to 64-hour associate degree program. And actually, from the service technician standpoint, for most of the general service of the vehicle, there's not a huge implication. In many cases, you'll see an aluminum part replacing steel, but it tends to be a bolt-on part. Probably the area of the vehicle that's going to be most affected for repair is in the body service area, the body repair.
Right. Well, that reminds me, I just saw on the news the other day, you mentioned the Corvette, but I also saw something about the F-150, America's most popular vehicle, right? Aluminum body, right? Did you see that?
Right. Yes.
That's pretty exciting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good. Thanks.
That's not the first aluminum vehicle, but it's the first aluminum pickup and certainly the first high-volume aluminum body.
I want one of those SVT Raptors. That's what I want. Anyhow, sorry, we'll talk about that later. We're good on our timing. Why don't we go ahead and we're going into Bob's section now, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, Bob, there you go. Take us forward.
Okay, I just had the mouse transfer done here. Yeah, the Detroit Tigers just started their game, and I guess I'm also batting cleanup here. What I'd like to talk about a little bit at the beginning are some of the automotive programs that Macomb Community College offers. First of all is our automotive technology program, and this is a service technician oriented. The students that go through this get a 2-year program where they come out with their associate's degree. They also have their NATEF certification. which means that they can go work at a dealership or a repair shop. We also offer programs that we do in conjunction with the auto manufacturers. The GM ASEP program, and just recently we've restarted the Chrysler CAAT program. And for both of these, the students are actually sponsored by a dealership, and they do this on a co-op basis, where they're working part-time at the dealership and coming to school part-time. Then we also offer a number of courses in hybrid electric vehicle and alternative fuel type of courses. We also offer some certificate options. There's one in automotive technology where you can go in and do specialization in areas of the vehicle. And then a newer one that I'll talk in more depth about later on electric vehicle development technology. Within degree options, the one we just mentioned, the automotive technology, we also offer associate degrees in manufacturing technology. And this is in a variety of different areas. It goes from mechatronics to CNC to welding to electronics and on. There's a lot of different areas of manufacturing technology that you can specialize in. And what's very good about all of these classes is that the courses articulate to Wayne State, where you can then go on and get your Bachelor of Science degree in electric transportation technology. CAAT has a number of affiliations with different industry partners, different government agencies, professional organizations, and a variety of different academic institutions. And the work that we do with these companies, varies widely. For instance, we mentioned General Motors presenting at our conference. That's one of the ways that we do, industry tie-ins. We will have industry come and be a guest speaker at a conference or a workshop session. Also, the Ride and Drive that day. General Motors and Nissan are both providing vehicles as part of the Ride and Drive. In professional organizations, Society of Automotive Engineers, SA International is a very key one, and they've been developing an electric vehicle certification, and we've been working hand in hand with that, and we've actually been using our students as guinea pigs for kind of testing their certification test. Just another example of how we do various interactions. One key partner for us that was mentioned earlier is Magna, Michigan Academy for Green Mobility Alliance. This group was formed several years ago, really by state of Michigan government, identifying that there needed to be some additional training developed in this area, and it needed to have partnership with industry and academia. So this group was formed, and it really is a voice of industry to the education community. It is industry co-chaired. It provides industry awarded credentials. We have a lot of various academic institutions that are there that we kind of cross-partner with each other, and it really provides a primary input and feedback source to academia as we go about developing our curriculum. One of the programs that came out of this is the Electric Vehicle Development Technician Certificate that we offer at Macomb Community College. This was done at the request of Magna. It's also being implemented through a National STEM Certificate that is a Department of Labor grant. The membership of Magna is shown here. Magna has government, car manufacturers, suppliers, and 2- and 4-year educational institutions. We meet on a monthly basis. There's a governing board that I'm a member of. We tend to meet twice a quarter, and then we have a larger advisory group that's made up of all these companies that meets on a quarterly basis. One of the things that came out of the Magna meetings was really identifying what types of skills were needed for electric vehicle technicians. And part of that was having just sort of a general overall knowledge of electric and hybrid vehicles, being able to work safely with high voltage, understanding of battery systems, control systems that you need for any type of electrified vehicle, including how the software operates, AC/DC converters, how are the vehicles charged and the charging infrastructure that's required, regenerative braking where you're actually recapturing braking energy and putting it back into the batteries. Then you have systems like steering and climate control that are also affected by electrification. If you have an electric vehicle, your engine isn't always, if you have a hybrid, your engine isn't always running, so you can no longer have a belt-driven power steering system or a belt-driven electric air conditioning compressor. So you end up going to electric power steering and you go to an electric compressor. So there's other vehicle systems that end up being affected by doing electrification. Then there's all the work that has to go on with systems integration and the electrical distribution system of high voltage systems. And then how you do high voltage back to 12 volt for operating the other systems of the vehicle. The development technology certificate that we developed is a one-year program. It's 28 credit hours. You do 2 different semesters where you are doing your academic work, and then a 3rd semester where you're placed into an internship. This program, as I mentioned earlier, is funded by a Department of Labor grant, and it's really targeted to displaced and unemployed workers. The first cohort of students started in January 2013. We had 19 students that started and 12 that completed. With the second cohort, we had really great success. We had 55 that applied, 34 passed the screening, so we were able to do selective admissions and had 25 students started in August and 22 that are still in the program. These students will be finishing their academic work in May, and we're working now on placing them in internships or permanent placements. Actually doing very well on that. About half of them already have been placed. And the program is going to continue. We're actually going to be doing a 3rd cohort, and we're starting recruiting for that. This cohort will start in August of 2014. The program itself gives people a basic understanding of automotive technology and for the entire vehicle. Teaches you basic electrical and electronics information, and then gets into the specifics of electric vehicle propulsion, motors, controllers, advanced energy storage is a fancy word for batteries. Then also teaches you how to go about using data acquisition equipment for being able to work and analyze vehicles. The program then gives you a certificate which you can do several different things with. There's a number of different job possibilities. One of the things that we see, since these people that are going through are all people that have worked somewhere else before, in many cases they're actually using this certificate to layer on top of their existing education. A number of them already had an associate or even some bachelor's degrees, and this is a way of kind of layering on top of their existing education, but giving them an opportunity to go work in a new area. All of these courses that are taken also are applicable towards an applied science associate degree, and then all of those courses also will articulate to Wayne State where you can get a Bachelor of Science in Technology. And with the certificate itself, there's a number of different things that you can do, working in a variety of areas of electric vehicles, from systems engineering to batteries, to high voltage, to motors, to electronics, to the AC/DC converters, to controls and calibration. So there's a variety of different fields. And as we mentioned, this is somewhat Southeast Michigan centric because this is where the auto industry and the manufacturers and suppliers are. Within this STEM Department of Labor grant, Ivy Tech University is also involved. They're doing an electric vehicle certificate that's aimed at technicians. Now, if some of you are online and are interested in more of the service end, our partner at Ivy Tech has developed curriculum that is more service-oriented. So how can you stay connected with CAAT? Well, there's a lot of different ways. Sherry went through our website. A lot of good information there. We're also very involved in social media. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Our newsletter, as Sherry mentioned, has a wealth of information of things of what we've done as well as upcoming events and activities. And want to encourage everybody again to look at our conference for May 2nd, either the conference, the Ride and Drive, or both. We are looking at doing some future webinars as well. We don't have a date picked yet, but kind of keep your eyes open. We do have some future webinars that we will be doing as well. So kind of what's our path going forward for the future? One is developing stronger industry relationships. This is one I personally have been doing a lot of work on since I came on board a little over a year and a half ago. We formed an industry advisory council of some fairly high-level automotive and supplier executives. And we are meeting with them about twice a year, gathering more curriculum information for dissemination. We will continue to be doing work in the electric vehicle area, but as we mentioned, we'll be expanding into lightweighting and automated connected vehicles. We want to try to increase our collaboration that we do with other schools. We want to keep improving our website and maximizing the impact that we can get from it. We also want to be generating new seed funding projects, particularly to assist us with curriculum development in the area of lightweighting and automated connected vehicles we'll be expanding into. In fact, that might be the topic of our next webinar, is seed funding and how seed funding works and ways of becoming involved with us in that. And then, of course, the important thing is how many students we can impact and put through the pipeline to be able to go work in these new exciting technology areas. So at this point, I'd like to pass it back to Mike and see if we have any final questions that you might want to have answered.
Thank you, Bob. We're perfectly on time. And I'll just note that in the chat window, several people, I bet you're going to get some follow-up on that Macomb EV stuff. It looks really interesting to people. So thank you for presenting on that. There was a question, and let me just start with this one on seed funding. So how do we, when somebody writes you a seed grant, by what criteria do you award it? Or I just get it in there, and then if you've got money, you give it to me. I'm exaggerating, but what sort of criteria do you use? How can I write an effective seed grant? That's really what I'm asking.
Well, I think if you go to our website, we've pretty much laid out what our criteria are on the website. What we're looking for is we're looking for it to be in the right area. We're looking to see if you have ideally an industry partner, somebody who's helping you develop what the content of the course should be in order to make students coming through the program more attractive to industry. We've got some cost limits on what it should be, and we're looking. We actually use the seed funding in sort of a spectrum of ways. One is all new curriculum, or we can also provide more limited funding if you want to adapt somebody else's or some existing programs to what you're doing. So it's not only generating new curriculum, but also adapting existing curriculum to your program can be supported by the seed funding. And we're finding that our experience is that it usually is in modules. Not too many of our seed funding projects have been all new courses. We find that it's much easier to engage a school and to adapt one of their existing courses and modify one of their existing courses than to develop something all new. So, but if you look at, we've got quite a bit of information on our website And we'll be glad to talk to you as well. There's no, don't hesitate to pick up the phone and give us a call and talk to us about your idea, and we can help guide you to a successful project.
And Doug and I already have a conference call scheduled for Monday with a school in California that's interested in the seed funding opportunity.
I think it's a great idea. It's one way that you know how programs struggle sometimes to bring in new things or implement things, and a little money can really help make that happen. It's a great idea.
And one of the things with the seed funding is the information that you develop, we then want to have full access to so we can put it on the website and make it available for others to use. And we've done seed funding projects that have been primarily with more the community college level, with some four-year universities. And more recently, we've even taken on a couple projects from high schools where they're developing some education material that can be used for junior high and high school level students that get them involved and excited about new automotive technology areas.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point, Bob. Yeah, we do have projects that range all the way from K through 12 to focus primarily on community colleges and even at university level. But when we have universities, as I talked about in the example with Grand Valley State, they did it in partnership with a community college so that the material they developed could be used at both places.
Perfect. It's a great idea. I've got just two more questions, but I'm going to ask our audience now. This sounds funny, to help us pay the bills, and to do what I mean by that is, if you would help us as we have a survey here, which I'm going to launch. Let's see if I can remember how to do this. Just a moment. And folks, you should see on your screen the Center for Automotive Technology survey, and just take it right on your screen. Other presenters, please leave it alone. Just click on the radio buttons and maybe take 90 seconds or so while we're wrapping up these final questions. So give us your feedback on the survey. Now here's a question for you guys, and Sherry, I didn't mean to do that. You talked about design, right, as you go through here. Now today, if you go on YouTube and every other place, you see a lot of 3D printing, prototyping emphasis. And I would bet the automotive industry uses that considerably. So I hope you agree. Should we now have sections of our CAD courses that focus on designing for 3D printing prototypes? I mean, do you talk about those things, or what's your thought on that?
Yeah, actually 3D printing is definitely used by the auto industry. We have 3D printing machines here at Macomb Community College. But you really don't design for 3D printing. 3D printing is a way of manufacturing parts from your CAD design information. You really don't do anything different with the CAD design. The models that you create are already surfaced and have the information that's needed in order to be able to use a 3D printing machine to make a part.
I see. So it's not in the CAD area, but rather it might be in some other technology.
It's in the manufacturing technology area.
Ah, okay. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I guess you're right. It's just a way of making parts. It's not a design effort in itself.
Correct.
Interesting. Okay, good. I have a second question. I'm not sure which of the three of you to direct the question to, but I think we'll start with Doug. There was, as you were talking about today's technology with respect to automotive vehicles, certainly connected technologies came up. And so I had to think, and some of our people online also wondered, how much IT skills should our automotive technology people have? I mean, should they understand, should they be taking 2 or 3 courses worth of IT stuff? Should they know how to Java program, or rather should they know other things? What's your sense of how much IT is coming for our students today?
And I think Bob's got some other thoughts on this because he's been discussing this, I think, with Magna and others in industry. But we're getting very strong feedback from industry that there's got to be a pretty good level of IT familiarity and skills for technicians these days. And it's not necessarily There's some specific languages that you use, for example, in setting up test equipment for electronics and mechatronics. So those are the kinds of skills that we're actually teaching already here as part of our motors course, for example, in the electric vehicle technician curriculum.
As software, though, is becoming more and more important. When I held the first Industry Advisory Council meeting last year, towards the end, one of the questions we asked them is, what would you describe as your ideal technician, coming to work for you and your company? So, well, they need to have good mechanical skills, good electrical skills, and good software skills. And the software piece is the piece that's probably been the most lacking in most automotive technology kinds of programs. So it is one of the areas that we're looking at what we can do to further enhance that. And yes, it is very much IT connected. Just a couple weeks ago, I had a meeting I'd report to the Dean of the Engineering and Advanced Technology School. There's another Dean of our IT and Math area. We had a meeting with the IT Dean, and we were talking about that very subject of what kinds of IT courses do we already have here that we might be able to either use for our automotive technology students or could be adapted in some way. So we're already giving thought that we don't have all the answers worked out, but it is certainly a strong identified need area that needs to be worked on.
Of course, we have to do this all within 64 hours, and we're only allowed to add things to the program. We can't subtract anything.
Right, right.
I'm saying that tongue-in-cheek, but all of us sort of face that issue, don't we? You also
Mike, that's right. I mentioned we have the automotive technology certificates, and that's one of the ways of doing that. You get your associate's degree, and let's call it more of a automotive technology generalist. You can then go back and get a certificate with a specialization in a different area.
Very cool. Our time is just right here. Folks online, I'm just getting ready to close the survey, so just take another moment while you're rapidly typing away. Interesting question in the chat window, Doug, Sherry, and Bob. It has to do with HV labs, hybrid labs. They're looking for information. They've got a couple of Priuses and a Camry. You've got good, interesting labs that you could point them to. Like they're feeling they're going to be calling you.
Well, yeah, we have an absolutely phenomenal automotive technology building here. We have special classrooms for engines, another one for transmissions, another one for steering and brakes, another one for climate control. And within each of those classrooms, it's a big room. There's actual classroom lecture area on one side and lab area on the same side. And then just these classrooms all feed into the general workshop. And it's the size of a large dealership. We have 3 alignment racks as an example. And so, yeah, we have very significant labs. That way there's computer equipment in there. But then within the engineering and technology building, there's all kinds of opportunities for where we do the teaching of electric vehicles and high voltage batteries and electric circuits and electronics and so forth.
Well, good. I'm going to encourage people, because you guys seem very open to it, to have connections directly to you, and I'm sure if you don't have something right of your own, you can point to others. And I think that's what the ATE centers do, so I think that's very valuable to us online here. I know here at our own college, at Gateway Community College, they have an automotive technology that they're really thinking of how to move into this electrical vehicle area, so and hybrid. So thanks for the help there. Folks online, I'm going to count down from 5 and close the survey here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. How's that? I figure most everyone's done at this point. So thank you, everyone. That brings us to the end of our thing today. I think as we wrap up, Doug, Bob, Sherry, thank you very much for all of the information. I think a good next step for many people is to look at your resource site, come to that May 2nd conference if they possibly can. And I didn't even realize you had some support for that. That would be pretty cool for people to take advantage of. So Doug, why don't we let you have the closing comment here today. Do you have something, suppose somebody's out there, maybe they're new, thinking about creating a program or ramping up their program, what's the first thing they should be doing? Connecting with their local industry folks, or what should they do if they want to ramp up their program?
Well, I think first of all, they should really take a look at the resources that we've assembled and put online, and then and then being in contact with local employers is what we've found to be a key success factor in developing curriculum. So between working with your local employers and seeing what's already available on our website, you might find a material that directly applies to what your needs might be, or you might find some holes, and then you'd be able to use our seed funding process to help you develop and fill those holes. So that's what I would suggest.
That sounds good. That's a great starting point. Sherry, any final thoughts from you on that same sort of question?
No, I think most of what we have available is on our website in our resource library. We have some good activities that you can get involved in, get engaged with us. Feel free to reach out to us if we can help you in any way.
Right.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, that came across strongly today. All right, folks, that brings us right to the end. Bob, I didn't give you a final chance, but you had a last chance to talk there. I appreciate all the work you guys have done in setting up this center. It's really quite impressive, all the resources you have and what you're making available to our community colleges, so thank you. For all of us online, this officially concludes our webinar. Thank you. As I mentioned, it's recorded. You'll be getting links to the recording and the slides from today. So thank you, everyone. Presenters, please stay on the line for just a moment.